last leaf in English. Long ago, the town of Florence was facing a significant crisis where Artsville Street was losing faith in its art painters and artists, who once uplifted the spirit of these streets now turned away from colors because of widespread poverty. Although art was loved by everyone, artists and painters were paid very little, causing the streets to slowly lose their luster. Parents began discouraging their children from pursuing art, and painters started taking odd jobs in their neighborhoods to earn a living. In these challenging times, only a few brave artists continued to embrace their passion for art. Among them were two great painters and best friends, Sue and Johnsy. They would create paintings and sell them to magazines, and while they did not earn much, they were content to follow their passion. Sue was characterized as a strong-headed and practical woman who faced every problem with grace, whereas Johnsy was constantly fearful about the future. Sue and Johnsy had an elderly neighbor named Mr. Behrman. Despite his age, Mr. Behrman was full of life and possessed an insatiable desire to paint. He would paint anything he saw, including benches by the road, steps in his building, and even trees. He was one of the rare painters who actively tried to keep the spirit of Artsville alive. Being a painter himself, Mr. Behrman often assisted Sue with her work, offering advice like how to make an object look almost real by subtly shifting it. Sue recognized his talent, suggesting he put his paintings up for sale. However, Mr. Behrman expressed little interest in money, stating he lived alone, spent very little, and believed people in town needed to understand that not everything had to be done for money. He firmly asserted that one must never stop doing what they truly love. Everything seemed to be going well until one day Johnsy became very ill. Despite the doctor's efforts and the medicines prescribed, Johnsy's condition did not improve. The doctor informed Sue that Johnsy's recovery depended on her willingness to recover, emphasizing that most troubles and illnesses persist due to negative thinking. Sue tried every possible method to keep Johnsy's spirits up. She cooked Johnsy's favorite food, shared jokes from work, and brought fresh flowers to the room, but nothing seemed to work. Johnsy expressed her despair, feeling she would never get better and guilty that Sue had to work so hard while she merely lay around. Sue reassured her, reiterating their friendship and her commitment to caring for Johnsy. One day, Mr. Behrman visited the girls, inquiring about Johnsy's well-being. He encouraged Johnsy to have faith, telling her her weakness was in her mind, echoing Sue's earlier sentiments about the power of positive thinking. Mr. Behrman then shared his latest painting, which depicted their street, showing artists out painting what they loved most, an impossible dream, he acknowledged, but one that highlighted the beauty of dreaming. He declared his certainty that his art would one day save lives, proclaiming that art is very powerful and can achieve what doctors cannot if an artist stays positive and has faith. As Johnsy remained sad, Sue inquired about what she was looking at. Johnsy pointed to an ivy plant on the wall, stating it was the only thing that brought her a little happiness, yet feared it was leaving her. She explained that when she first saw it, it had 10 leaves, but now only 7 remained. Johnsy declared she would lose all hope once the last leaf fell. Sue reacted strongly, but Mr. Behrman intervened, advising against screaming at an ill and sad person. Sue apologized, and Johnsy, feeling guilty, accepted it. Days continued to pass and Johnsy's health worsened. Because she had stopped taking her medicine, Sue repeatedly asked the doctor for alternate treatments, but he consistently advised that Johnsy needed to strengthen her mind. One day, as Sue entered her building, she noticed Mr. Behrman drenched. He dismissed her concerns, claiming he was just growing old and had been painting 20 benches in the park that day, forgetting his umbrella. Despite them being under a roof, Sue expressed concern for his health, noting that everyone was falling ill, and asking if he had a fever, offering to call a doctor. Mr. Behrman waved off her worries, stating that when he painted he was the happiest man and nothing could hurt or bother him because art was his life. He then asked about Johnsy, and Sue reported that Johnsy was not great with only 4 leaves remaining on the ivy plant. She obsessed over Sue voiced her fear that if the last leaf fell, Johnsy would lose all hope. Mr. Behrman vowed not to let that happen, acknowledging the current rain and strong winds. Sue expressed her despair, saying she saw no way to prevent the leaf from falling and was losing her will. Mr. Behrman promised to go to a doctor and told Sue to give his best to Johnsy. That night, a severe hailstorm struck the town, causing everyone on Artsville Street to close their windows and stay warm indoors. Johnsy, however, wanted Sue to open the window to see if the last leaf had fallen, but Sue refused, fearing the rough wind would worsen Johnsy's condition. Johnsy reluctantly agreed, unaware that Sue herself was deeply worried about the leaf. The next morning, the sun shone brightly, signaling the end of the hailstorm. Sue knew she could no longer keep the windows shut with her eyes closed. She opened the curtains, then opened her eyes in surprise. She exclaimed to Johnsy that the last leaf was still there. Johnsy was astonished, questioning how it could still be holding on. Sue attributed its resilience to the leaf's will, just as Mr. Behrman had emphasized. Johnsy finally understood and asked for her medicines, declaring that if a tiny leaf can brave a storm, she can too, and she would find a way to recover. Overjoyed, Sue promised to get Johnsy whatever she wanted, and Johnsy asked for her canvas and some colors. Sue's happiness was immeasurable as she rushed to bring all the colors she had and set up the canvas by Johnsy's bed. As time passed, Johnsy made a complete recovery, much to the surprise of both the doctor and Sue. She no longer spoke of weakness or limitations, but instead discussed her new dreams, including her desire to paint the London Bridge. Johnsy then asked about Mr. Behrman, noting she hadn't seen him in a long time. Sue, glad Johnsy had recovered before sharing the news, explained that Mr. Behrman had fallen ill due to his old age, particularly on the night of the hailstorm. Johnsy recalled his statement that nothing could hurt him when he painted. Sue then revealed the truth: the last leaf on the wall was not real. Mr. Behrman had painted it that night. He was indeed a great painter. Sue recounted that the morning after painting, Mr. Behrman began to shiver and was taken to the hospital. Sue visited him a day before, finding him at peace and happy when she told him of Johnsy's recovery, explaining that the last leaf had given Johnsy strength. Mr. Behrman then passed away. Johnsy was heartbroken, but Sue reminded her that she had helped Mr. Behrman fulfill his dream, as he had once said his art would save lives. Sue pointed to the last leaf, declaring it his art that had saved Johnsy's life. Johnsy corrected her, calling it not just art but a masterpiece, and vowed to fulfill his dream herself. The story of the last leaf and Mr. Behrman spread throughout the town. Painters, poets, dancers, and singers, all artists, were inspired. They gathered under the ivy plant and swore to revitalize art on Artsville Street, and indeed the streets came alive again with paintings on every wall, and even on some people. Johnsy and Sue pooled their savings and began teaching painting under the name of the Behrman Art. Parents sent their children to learn the spirit of life there. Everyone resumed painting, continuing their odd jobs, but now enjoying their work, knowing they would never stop painting. The people of Artsville Street were relieved to have colors back in their lives, realizing art's importance and donating a portion of their earnings to the Behrman Art. Soon the Behrman Art expanded and became the Behrman Institute. Every child at the Behrman Institute was taught to paint the last leaf before anything else, because that leaf would impart the vital lesson: where there is a will, there is always a way. Analysis of the last leaf. The story of the last leaf is a profound exploration of human spirit, the transformative power of art, and the selfless devotion of one individual to another. It unfolds against the backdrop of a community that has lost its connection to creativity due to economic hardship, setting a somber tone for the challenges faced by its characters. The initial crisis on Artsville Street, where painters have abandoned their passion for Survival highlights the pervasive influence of circumstance on individual well-being and the collective spirit of a place. Johnsey's illness serves as the central conflict, but it is her deteriorating mental state more than her physical ailment that poses the gravest threat. Her doctor explicitly states that her recovery hinges on her will to live, underscoring the powerful connection between mind and body. Johnsey's fixation on the falling ivy leaves as a metaphor for her own fading life showcases a deep-seated despair and a susceptibility to negative thinking. Her count of the leave from 10 to 7 and then to 4 concretely illustrates her downward spiral and her dwindling hope, making the symbolic significance of the last leaf incredibly potent. In stark contrast to Johnsey's hopelessness is the character of Mr. Behrman, an old man who embodies the unyielding spirit of art and life. His philosophy that art is life, and that nothing can bother him when he paints, reveals a deep conviction that transcends mere financial gain. His belief that art can do what doctors cannot, and that where there is a will, there is a way, becomes the guiding principle for the narrative's resolution. Mr. Behrman's actions are the ultimate demonstration of his philosophy. Despite his age and the severe hailstorm, he bravely ventures out to paint the last leaf, risking his own health for Johnsey's sake. This act is not merely painting, it is a profound gesture of empathy and a strategic intervention aimed at restoring Johnsey's will to live. His selflessness, leading to his own illness and eventual death, positions him as a martyr for his art and for the human spirit. The painted leaf becomes a powerful symbol of hope and resilience for Johnsey. It represents a defiance of nature, a refusal to succumb, and a mirror of her own potential inner strength. The realization that a tiny leaf can brave a storm compels her to find her own will to recover, demonstrating art's capacity to inspire and fundamentally alter perception. Her subsequent request for her canvas and colors signifies not just physical recovery but a return to her artistic passion and a renewed embrace of life. Mr. Behrman's legacy extends far beyond Johnsey's individual recovery. His masterpiece, The Painted Leaf, becomes a source of inspiration for the entire Artsville community, reigniting their passion for art and leading to the establishment of the Behrman Art, and later the Behrman Institute. This transformation of the community from one marked by poverty and despair to one vibrant with artistic expression exemplifies the idea that true wealth lies in creative fulfillment and shared purpose. The Institute's tradition of teaching every child to paint the last leaf before anything else reinforces the central moral lesson that where there is a will, there is always a way. This emphasizes that inner determination and belief can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles, a timeless message conveyed through the selfless act of an old painter. The story, therefore, is a powerful testament to the ripple effect of one person's compassionate act capable of saving a life, inspiring a community, and immortalizing a profound philosophy.